Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1348. The topic is nutrition and the title is Nutritional Support for Physical Therapy. So I do help clients do kind of like physical therapy after their maybe insurance covered physical therapy kind of wears out, or if unfortunately what they were doing in physical therapy didn't work, we'll kind of take a deeper look at it and try to figure that out. And then also I help people with nutrition to support physical therapy. So I have a corrective exercise specialist certification, which helps me kind of work on if somebody does have injuries, how can we kind of focus on the issue to address the issue and correct the issue. And I do have clients who are physical therapists, and we talk all the time about different things, including nutritional support for the people that they work with. So this is unfortunately something that, like everyone who goes through PT, like physical therapy, they should be aware of the impact that nutrition has on how well their PT will go. However, most people aren't aware of that, and a lot of the PTs that I talk to and have personal experience with, they either just don't know what to give in terms of advice, what's correct, or they think it's outside of their scope of practice, so they don't give the advice. And then unfortunately sometimes they do give advice, but they don't give good advice. So I wanted to kind of cover this one, today's podcast, mostly just for anybody who's going through PT, so you can kind of understand the importance of nutrition and then work on correcting that or addressing that on your own. And then if there are any physical therapists who listen to this, hopefully this is helpful for you as well. And then you're welcome to reach out at our website, www.brutalirongym.com, and I'll help you create like pamphlets and things you can hand out to your clients if you'd like. So I've done it before and I love doing it, and it's just awesome opportunity to help more people. So just for kind of story purposes, I have two new people who have come into these issues. So one is a musician, and they fell outside of playing music and just kind of fell outside their house, and they hurt their shoulders. They went to a PT to get like some shoulder therapy, and it's kind of sort of working, kind of sort of not. They also have other issues related to posture, and they've noticed that their fingers are not as strong as they used to be, and they're feeling like their fingers are kind of delayed and or not recovering well in between their practices. So we started working together. They reached out and we started working together to address the shoulder issue that happened when they fell outside, but also to address posture overall in the shoulders, like the thoracic spine, but also the hips. And we're going to work on finger strength and finger mobility. So it's actually really fun because that's not something most people would think of, but it's super cool. We have a whole exercise program based on the different muscles of the fingers, and I had to learn a lot of this because I unfortunately tore some tissues in my right hand years and years and years ago, and believe it or not, I don't even know how I did it. I was working out one day and just noticed like my right hand was kind of weaker than I thought it would be. I was training clients at that time 50 hours a week. So my self-care was trash. It was 50 hours a week face-to-face. I was trying to train, late at night, underfed, all these things. I ended up tearing some tissues in my hand. I went and saw a hand specialist up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and here I tore a fatty pad that is between the bone and kind of muscle and tendon stuff and the outside skin. I tore the fatty pad and tore some tissues related to my ring and pinky finger. So I had to start doing a lot of research into finger strength. I have since regained strength in my hand, and I was able to do a 700-pound deadlift, so that's pretty good. So I got my hand back to working. So I'm showing the musician some of the things I learned, but more so things that like apply to them. So for example, I had to work on hook strength in my fingers. However, they have to work on different types of strengths, like different types of movement in their fingers. So like side to side, like lateral movement of the fingers is something people don't often think of, but there are specific muscles that do that versus hook strength that you need for like a deadlift. So it's really cool. I love that stuff. So we're working on that. Now, what was interesting is whenever we started working together, they were telling me that the PT work was kind of sort of working, kind of sort of not for their shoulder issue. And we found out as we look through kind of nutrition, they're only eating around 9 times their body weight in total calories. That's very low, and I'll give you more context here in a little bit. But that's very, very low. And they eat less than half their body weight in protein. That, again, is very, very low. That is barely enough for general health. And it hasn't been enough to maintain their physical strength and physical structures, which is why they're starting to lose positional strength in regards to posture, why they're losing physical strength in regards to their fingers. They have plenty of stimulus for finger strength by playing their instruments all the time, but there hasn't been caloric and protein support for that type of stimulus, so the muscle tissues have still gotten weaker and weaker and weaker over time. So this is unfortunate that they have all the stimulus and the activity to create the stronger muscles, but they haven't had the nutrition to support that process. Now, they're not overweight because they eat so little that they probably didn't think about food being an issue. Maybe their PT didn't think about food being an issue. As I said, maybe they thought it was outside of their scope, but the nutritional support is not there. It's not there for the PT to actually work. It's not even there for their regular life to stop decay. Their body's still just kind of decaying over time. Now, I have another client. They had shoulder issues before we started working together. And we've been doing odds and ends and physical workouts and whatnot, but it's been slowly getting worse. They'll go and play golf, they'll go and do other things, and the shoulder is just kind of an issue for them. Now, I've been politely hounding them about their food, but they still struggle to eat around 9 times body weight in calories, and they struggle to eat like half their body weight in protein. They're doing all the physical exercise. They're doing everything that you can physically do to promote healthier and stronger shoulders and to correct the issue, but there's no nutritional support. So they went and got an MRI done. There's no serious damage shown, and they were recommended to do PT. But as I explained to them, PT is no different than what we've already been doing. We've been doing exercises that target the shoulder tissues. That's exactly what the PT is going to do. But the PT's exercises aren't magically any better than the exercises that are already in our program. Actually, I work with PTs all the time, and the majority of what I give people in their programs is physical therapy type work for thoracic mobility and shoulder health. So they're already doing it. And it's just that there's no nutritional support. If they're not consistent with their nutrition, eating enough calories, eating enough protein, then all the stimulus in the world from the workouts aren't going to make any difference. And that's where most people kind of fall, like, what they miss. That's what they miss, is they think if I do more exercises, if I do more therapy, if I do more activity, the tissue will get stronger. No. The activity, the exercises, they are a stimulus from, like, basically from the muscle to the brain. You use that muscle, and then your brain realizes, oh crap, that muscle's not strong enough to do what I want it to do. So you're basically sending a signal to the brain that says, hey brain, fix this. The brain says, okay, I will fix it. But what does it need to fix it? It needs calories and protein. I've talked about this before, is if I want to build a brick house, I need to have workers and I need to have bricks. If you're doing all the physical therapy, if you're doing all the exercises, you have all of the workers, but where's your bricks? How are you going to build the house? How are you going to build new muscle tissue if you don't have the material that muscle tissue is built from? This is why you must have both parts. You must have the physical exercise and activities and the right ones, so that way you send the correct signal to the brain to fix the exact issue that you want it to fix. But you also have to have the nutritional support. If you don't have enough calories, if you don't have enough protein, you will not have new, stronger, healthier tissues. Okay? Now, what can you do about that? You can listen to podcast 1232. It's a nutrition podcast titled Start Here, and it literally tells you where to start with your nutrition. First thing is definitely going to be to get calories in a better range. 9 times body weight is not sufficient, not going to be enough. You got to get to at least a minimum of 11 times body weight. Now, you can work up there slowly if that kind of feels overwhelming to you, but you need to get within a healthy range. 11 times body weight, especially if it's lean body weight, that's pretty much the minimum. 9 times body weight isn't going to cut it. You also have to get to the minimum of protein, which is 0.6 grams per pound of body weight if it's like leanish body weight. So if the person weighs 150 pounds, they should be eating at least 90 grams of protein. At least. And that needs to be every damn day. And 0.6 is the bare minimum. That doesn't even factor in the extra protein you need if you do exercise. If you do exercise that causes muscle tissue damage, you should actually be more towards 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. So that would be like 120 grams if you weigh 150 pounds. So you have to have calories right, you have to have protein right, and then it is a good idea to distribute that kind of evenly throughout the day, since our body needs those materials throughout the day evenly. So that's going to be what you'll learn in podcast 1232, is a nutrition podcast, again, titled Start Here. So go listen to that. Make sure you have the baseline of what you need for nutritional support for yourself if you're going through PT, or if you are a physical therapist, send your clients to go listen to podcast 1232 and tell them to reach out to me if they need help, but make sure that the work you're doing with them gets the effect you want. You want to make sure that what you do makes a difference for that person. Nutrition 100% factors into that difference. So make sure that as you're picking great exercises, they're also eating enough food to support the process. Awesome. Well, I don't want to go too long on this. I want to keep it short and sweet. But if you have any questions, if you need anything, our email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. You can find the podcast on pretty much any podcast platform under the name Brutal Iron Gym. And you can check us out on our website. We have a link there as well. Our website is www.brutalirongym.com, and you can click on our podcast and social media link, and you can go to the podcast right from there. Awesome. Well, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, always reach out. If you do like our podcast, if you think our podcast is helpful, please share it, especially if you are a physical therapist, or especially if you're somebody who maybe puts this into practice and realizes it has a big effect, then share it out into the world. Sharing it in social media is the best way to reach the most amount of people. You can share it in a conversation with a friend. That helps as well. Just the more people we share it with, the more people can help. That's the whole idea. Thank you to the patrons of the podcast, the people who financially support the podcast. You can do so now on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. You can give donations, like a one-time donation, monthly donation, yearly donation. However you do it, I appreciate it that you do it. The podcast is well over $1,000 a year for hosting costs. I give an hour to it every single day, even weekends. So I truly believe that this has the ability to help a lot of people, and I'm committing to it. And I appreciate everybody who financially supports it, so we can continue to do this every day and keep it for free. If you like the information we share in our podcast, you can also find more from us on our social media channels on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. If you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, anything you want to know, let us know at our email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.